Let me get a little more light in here, just a hair more light. Okay. And we are live. Hey, everybody, it's Jason Blaha here. Thought I would sit down and do a live for you guys and gals. So, get this underway. Did I make this public? Did I make it public? I may not have. Let me double check. No, it is definitely public. Okay, so we're definitely public. No, there we go. First person came in. So, topic I'm going to briefly cover here, and hopefully everyone saw the sticky. If you didn't, you may want to go check it. The topic someone brought up, they're like, hey, Dr. Mike Isreatel is saying we should take a month off from lifting every year. Actually, let me move this mic over. We should take a month off from lifting every year. We can leave the mic here. I think it's fine. All right, my thoughts on that. Complete nonsense. There's no evidence whatsoever to support this idea. When it comes to something like that, I think it's because he sells really complex periodization, and it works really well with that model. I have never in my life found it necessary for my clients or lifters to actually take any sort of extended downtime from training. If you look at the data and the evidence on it, deloads that are unnecessary actually reduce muscle. Okay, I want to state that again. So when it even comes to the topic of deloading, if you take a deload and you do not have any signs of overreaching, the studies show that you lose muscle as a result of it. So in other words, even going in and doing only 50% of your normal weight for similar reps and all that stuff that we used to talk about with deloading, when it's been studied, people lost muscle. They literally detrain. And the only exception might be if you're blasting a significant amount of gear to retain all that muscle, because we do lose muscle relatively quickly. We lose muscle through inactivity. So when we come to that perspective, if you just say, I'm going to take 3 or 4 weeks off or whatever in the summer, you will lose muscle mass. Now, people say, but muscle memory, it'll come back quick. It's like, okay, fine. But why? What possible benefit did you get? And I get when people say, well, I might need it to recover. You need a whole month to recover? You need a whole month to recover? Then people say, well, maybe I need it for mental freshness. Are you not serious about your training? Like, what do you mean mental freshness? Like, if you're exhausted, just scale your training back a little bit. I think it's pretty straightforward. Scale your training back if you're too exhausted and you're not able to recover. Cut your volumes back, come in and do your basics. But you shouldn't need to take downtime, right? So, Rigas. Okay. Sorry, I said I wouldn't warn people. I apologize for even saying his name. I'm supposed to just silently ban people who break the rule. I apologize to my audience for breaking my own rule. Okay, so let's get over to some questions now. Get over to some questions, but I'll get to those second. Follow me on the Facebook fan page if you guys would, and then I'll get to your questions. So back over to that topic with the deloads. If you need to recover, just cut back to your basic. That's why I give you guys 5 or 6 basic exercises and tell you that if nothing else, do those exercises every week, right? You can do squat, bench, deadlift, pull-ups, overhead press, barbell curl. Like if you're too exhausted to do real training, come in and do those 6 exercises and go home for the week, right? You divide that into 3 sessions and do 2 of those exercises or whatever you need on your split. Do 3 hard sets of them, go home. Anybody can recover from that. Okay, not a problem. You shouldn't need downtime. If you do, you don't have your lifestyle dialed in or your coach is programming you incorrectly. All right. So let's get over to some of these comments and questions. Future Legend, do you think of the new trend of people saying bulking isn't necessary? I'm one of those people saying that. Research shows it. My experience as a coach shows it. The only exception being if you need to weigh more. In other words, if you weigh 170 and your goal is to be 180 shredded, you're going to have to eventually bulk up 10 pounds, right? But what does the evidence say? Study after study for decades has shown even advanced lifters can recomposition at least a little bit all the time. So I'm falling more into that camp that I am of the general opinion, unless we are way underweight and need to bulk, or you're way overweight and need to trim down, okay, that we should generally be losing fat and gaining muscle every month our entire training career. And I don't think it's unreasonable for us to do that unless you're shredded already. But if you're above about 10% body fat, you should be able to at least have some recomposition month to month, even if it's a microscopic amount, pretty much for 10 years straight, 15 years. Okay. Yeah, future, but those were old videos. And keep in mind, I've evolved and I've been saying it for a while. It's not like I only started saying this last week, right? So you can't go back to say, well, in some old videos, well, I was wrong. How's that for an answer? And I think it absolutely works great. Or when people bulk, lean bulking, I'm talking like 10 pounds a year at the most and then cut. But aren't we still, Steve, essentially doing recomposition to some extent? Okay. So let's come over to these other questions. Mike Isreatel, Mike's my reps. Yeah, it's fine. Dylan says, thank you for helping me earlier. I will try to eat clean, but it's difficult. You have tips for learning to cook food? No, I can't teach you how to cook. I'm sorry. That's not what I do. Like, I don't run a cooking instruction channel. Maybe one day, but it's not currently in the cards to set up a kitchen and teach you how to cook. Just not my thing. But there are plenty of people out there who have cooking channels, right, who specialize in showing you how to cook. There's whole channels dedicated to cooking here on YouTube. So you can check some of them out. I tried eating at maintenance and my strength didn't go up for crap. Of course it will. You just have to be patient because you're not getting the leverages from extra fat. But it doesn't mean you're making gains. Again, I would say your stuff wasn't dialed in. Jason, does intermittent fasting help with losing fat? I believe that it can. Okay. What's the highest weight a 5'10" person going to roughly reach at 10? I don't know, Dean. You would need to plug it into a fat-free mass index calculator, right? Plug it into a fat-free mass index calculator. I'm going to agree with Mike's take. I always take 3. I'm going to disagree with that completely. There's no evidence for it. But you said you're taking off from heavy training. People ask me about no training. Keep in mind, I don't go check these people out. If you people ask me, hey, this person said this, I'm just going to go off of it then. Fine. And if I got it wrong, then I don't have time to go double check it. But then if they never said it, then there's no problem. But someone said about the advice to not train, to take completely off. So if you're not training, I guarantee you beyond a shadow of a doubt, all the available evidence says that you lost muscle during that month. A lot says if you go to failure and then do my reps, you always have effective reps. Is that true? No. I don't think that's true at all. I think you should recomp only after you bulked and cut. Well, yeah, if you've got to be, no, even new novices can recomposition. Sam says, I was literally failing every workout on bench. What do you mean? Your programming clearly wasn't dialed in. That's it. Something wasn't dialed in with your programming. Keeping in mind, strength gain should be slow unless you're a ranked novice. And what else were you doing besides benching? That's something that comes up also too. People say, well, my bench is stalling and it'll be some pretty good number. I'm like, well, you got to get bigger. Like, so I need to bench more? No, you need to do more hypertrophy work. We can only handle so much benching, right? It's a big exercise. There comes a point where you're going to have to stack some muscle on. Are you hungry right now? No, I'm ridiculously full at the moment. If I were to cut 20 pounds while maintaining strength, would that mean I lost fat? Probably. Are you going to watch the Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul fight tonight? I don't know. I might. Bet most lifters' gains have improved since the elections. Probably. Do you think Mike Tyson will win or not? I'll count that as fitness. It's a sport. I think Tyson's going to win by knockout. Unbelievable persistence says, I don't understand why a drug-free lifter would want to take a month off from lifting unless injured. Exactly. Sam says, I was doing full body while maintaining weight, so basic 5x5. Sam, are you a novice? Because if you're a novice, okay. So, because otherwise you shouldn't be doing a full body program. So if you're a novice and you tell me you were at maintenance calories and you're eating enough protein and sleeping enough and your lift's completely stalled for 3 months straight, what program were you running? Were you running my programs? Because your weight would never stall. Because you would never do the same weight twice in a row. You would either be adding or reducing weight every session. So did you try to write your own progression pattern? Starting strength isn't a 5x5. So it's not possible that you were running a basic 5x5 while doing starting strength. Let me state that again. You just said you were doing a 5x5 while doing starting strength. That's a lie. So instead of strong lifts, so did you follow strong lifts progression or did you write your own progression? Did you follow their exact progression with the weight resets? Exactly, literally as prescribed to the pound. Okay, you added it. And what happened when you stalled? You reset, right? And reduce the weight the next workout? And it failed again. Well, then you just got to, so what's your body weight? How old are you and what weights were you failing at on the bench? So if you're really, really skinny, I'm going to say in that case, you should have lean bulk. But a lean bulk is still going to be a recomposition for a novice. You're probably going to lose fat. But so again, what's your height, weight, age, and what weight were you stalling at for the 5x5 on bench press? And how many weeks did you stall on it? So if you'll give me that answer. Okay. Future says you want your bench to go again. Well, but Future, he doesn't have to necessarily gain 10 pounds. But I will agree that high rep dumbbell presses can help. Hey, Simonus, what do you mean? Just because you hit failure. So, Simonus, I need you to write out the full protocol by which you were describing here. Because if it's a really short break and you're doing myo reps, no, you're very quickly going to be right back over to intermediate fibers again. But you should probably describe that. All right. Do you think 531 is still a good way to train? Yeah, it's okay. It's a decent template if you don't know how to program or you don't have a coach. You say an intermediate is a 315 squat, 4-5 deadlift, true 25 bench. Is that for one? Yeah, I'm talking one rep. Sam, so you went from 140 to 205. Yeah, your story's getting complicated. Put in a coaching application. I'll fix you, dude. Look, here's the link. Put in an application. I'll get you fixed. This is easy. All right. So Simon says 12 reps of failure, then wait 15 seconds, 2 to 3 more than 15. Yeah, you're absolutely not hitting the upper threshold fibers again on those reps. Why are they calling that bio reps? That's called rest pause almost. Yeah. All right. Hey, Sam, put in an application for coaching or for a consultation so I can go over it in detail. Because again, this here isn't going to be enough for me to really help you. Yeah, if you're fat, you need to lose weight. Absolutely. John says, been cutting hard all year, took a 2-week break, came back and added 3 reps on bench fatigue or calories. Sounds like a major fatigue issue. Future Jason, I follow a lot of your advice on your old readers, and yeah, a lot of it does still work. But when it comes to the idea of the bulking and cutting the way people think they need to do it, I simply don't think it's necessary. I want to be clear. I'm not saying it doesn't work. What I'm saying is it's more efficient to just simply not do so. I don't think that we have to gain significant body fat in order to gain muscle. You can keep a 6-pack year round and still make great gains, is what I'm telling people. Hey, Sam, it's going to depend completely on their weight, but if you bulked all the way from 140 to 205 and got fat, you absolutely did it completely incorrectly. You followed the really bad starting strength model. Keep in mind how many of the starting strength coaches are type 2 diabetics. Their nutrition advice is pretty bad. You shouldn't be bulking to that degree. I mean, to be 205, how tall are you? You're 5'11". For you to be 205 and lean, you were on steroids. Straight up. So if you didn't bulk with gear to that body weight, you had no business bulking up to that. Of course you got that. You did a fat bulk. You did a crazy dreamer bulk. You should have slowly worked up from 140 up to maybe 150, 160 at the most in the first year, at the absolute most. And that would have been reasonable. That would have been lean, and you would have made just as many gains. Cameron says, if I usually do 10 sets for each muscle group a week, but I had to cut back to 6 reps because of time, I still make gains. And if I can, yeah, it'll probably be less gains, but you'll still make gains. If you train hard. Cameron, are you truly training hard? A lot of guys who are doing 6 sets, they think they're training hard. All right. But that's what it comes down to. How hard are you training? Because if you're only doing 6 sets, if you still want to make gains, you better be training crazy hard on those 6 sets. And if you do, you can absolutely make muscle gains stuff. Absolutely. Simonus, there's no reason to believe that with only a 15-second break, if you went to failure, that you will hit upper threshold motor units again. It seems extremely unlikely. You're going to be back to your intermediate fibers. That's too short of a break to allow them to recover, at least according to my understanding of it, unless maybe for a novice lifter. But if you've been training a while with any sort of good neural drive, it's highly unlikely. Yeah, Future says getting strong AF on the bulk wall, not necessarily true. Yeah, but it's not necessary. It's getting you stronger because it's cutting ranges of motion and giving you squish. It's not putting more muscle on you. Okay. If you're getting man titties to bounce your bench off of and cut an inch out of the range of motion so that you can add more weight, that's not benefiting you. Unless your goal is just to add more weight because you're going to compete in powerlifting or something. And so that's what I'm telling people. You can lean bulk up. Again, what I'm saying is it's just simply not necessary to gain fat. It's just not. Sam, do I cut now? Sam, the question is, if you feel that you're fat and at an unhealthy body fat, the answer is you should always cut no matter what the situation. I would say a pound a month is perfectly reasonable. Maybe a ranked novice, 1.5 pounds. Are you still taking requests cover online fitness community? Alan, I might, yeah. But you need to send me the stuff. Like, just comments don't work. Send me links on social media. All right. So if you'll send me the link on Facebook or Instagram and tell me why you want me to cover it, I'll be happy to look into it. So how much pause minimum? Minute, probably minimum. If it's a big exercise, you might need 2 minutes. Isolation movement, I'm going to venture to say you probably need a full minute. Will a novice look good from 160 to 170? Sam, so how do we define looking good? From a fitness world, no, you're not going to look good as a novice. You'll only lift in a year. To the average person, yeah, you'll probably look better. So we need a context for that. I mean, I'd almost venture to say that to the fitness world, you can't look good without steroids. Everyone who claims natural who looks great is on 7 different drugs. But to the average person, sorry, I digress. To the average person, yeah, you'll definitely get better. But think about it this way: if you're 160 and a novice, and you're 160 as a novice, and you gain 1 pound a month, and it'll all be solid. Okay, you will probably lose a little body fat while doing that. So your body fat percentage will probably improve, and that should be your goal. I mean, Sam, shouldn't that always be your goal? That at the end of that year, you should look better and be fitter. So you should always strive for, hey, at the end of this year, at the end of this 6 months, I would like to have more muscle and possibly less fat every time. Yeah, of course, it's a good place to start from. Okay, thanks. How much pause do you do between bench press sets? I rest at about 3 minutes. I mean, on my big movements on average, sometimes 3. I'm sorry, sometimes 4 to 5, but usually about 3 is a normal for me. Hey, future, but here's the point I'm making. You can say this works, but Chris doesn't look good when he bulks. When he's dirty bulking so half the year, he doesn't look good. And after he cuts, he looks amazing. Is that a fair statement? So the point I would make is you don't have to do that dirty bulk. I honestly and legitimately believe it does not give you a single extra pound of muscle. That's what the research is literally showing with DEXA scans. You don't gain a single ounce more muscle from it. And I'm not saying it doesn't. No one's saying it doesn't work. What I'm saying is it's simply unnecessary. Okay, does that make sense? It's like, let me put it to you this way. We take something like that and when the evidence shows in the lab, it doesn't cause any muscle growth to do that, right? None, zero, absolutely zero. So since we know that is scientifically true, that would be the equivalent of a guy saying before every workout, I go over to the squat rack and I hop around on 1 foot 3 times and say ziggy zaggy, oi, oi, oi. And I built up to a 500-pound back squat. But then we do a study that shows that hopping around on 1 foot clockwise 3 times and saying ziggy zaggy, oi, oi, oi doesn't actually cause any strength gain. And we confirm that with research, right? Do you see the point we're making? So once we've confirmed that it doesn't actually do anything beneficial, we know that it was just ritual. And that's exactly what the dirty bulk is. It's just a ritual that people go through. It doesn't actually cause any muscle growth. It doesn't mean the rest of their stuff doesn't work. Loner says, Coach, I've been training for 8 years, but my wander at maxes are pathetic. 200 is bench or bus squat. My soul allowance. Yeah, you need to get on a good program and good diet. Explanation for why a bulk gets you fat. Yeah, only on the lifts that it gets you stronger on. So when we're talking, I'm not saying all bulks. Like if you lean bulk and gain slowly, yeah, it's because of muscle. But when you gain a bunch of fat, it's because the leverage has changed, right? The leverage has changed. But oftentimes it even starts reducing ranges of motion, gives you squish out of the hardest part of the movement. It's not actually increasing tension on the muscle, so you're not even gaining extra muscle from the strength gain, right? Long legs, no, because that's genetic and specific drug. I don't feel like the hair loss is really worth talking about because it's just accepted, dude. If you're going to go on gear, you accept that hair loss is probably inevitable, right? If you do a bunch of gear. The only exception would be to run a large amount of nandrolone and take testosterone really low. But I'm going to tell you right now, the stacks that will not cause any hair loss, almost guaranteed, you're going to feel like complete garbage doing them. You're probably going to get depressed. You're going to have all sorts of issues trying to save your hair. And your other option is to just feel amazing and get amazing results and accept some hair loss. Like, to me, that's a no-brainer. Just, it's my opinion. So again, I'm probably the last person you want to ask me because I would just laugh about it and say, I mean, is it that big of a deal? To that take a month off topic, what if you go swimming and do yoga? Is that a month where you quit bodybuilding where you lose? I mean, you're not doing resistance training. That's what I'm saying. Does finasteride decrease testosterone? It can cause some issues with others. It shouldn't decrease testosterone, but it decreases DHT. And it's only going to help with certain stacks, like stacks that are already DHT based, it's not going to help. So, I mean, if you're running the good stuff like Primo, Masteron, Anabar, finasteride is not going to help. You're just going to get whatever genetic hair loss is happening. Oh, that's the other point, long legs. I guess the best way to not lose any hair on gear is to pick your parents really, really carefully, right? Particularly your mom's side of the family. So make sure that you pick a mom who all the men have full heads of hair at age 60. So when you're picking your mother, when you're up in heaven, pick her very, very carefully. And that's the key to keeping all your hair on gear. So that's really the best answer. Pick your mom's genetics really carefully. Okay. And if you're already born, I guess there's not much you should do about it. You should have planned better. Sorry, you should have thought of before you picked that body for your soul to go into. I want to run steroids and keep my hair on day. I should pick my mom really carefully. If you didn't do that, that's too much. Why are you asking me non-fitness questions, long legs? Is my dad bald? That's not a fitness question that you just saw the post. That's an auto ban with no warning. Okay. All right. That's not even relevant to the steroid talk because that is not relevant. It's only all right. And I apologize. I'm not supposed to warn people. I said I would just ban without warning. But people are going to have to learn. Asking if someone's dad is bald is not a fitness-related question. All right. Thoughts on Tomcat Ali is a complete scam. All right. Hey, Jason, I'm 20 years old, 180 pounds with 385 bench press with 4 years training. That's crazy good. How come I'm stronger than people like you have been doing? Straight genetics, dude. You're extremely genetically gifted at the bench press. Now, I'm going to check your channel and see if you're telling the truth, because nobody in the history of the world bench presses 385 at 4 years of training. It has not uploaded it all over their social media. So I'm going to go check your YouTube, and if you're lying, I'm going to ban you. Because there's no way you bench that much and you haven't uploaded it to the entire world. So you're a liar, you get banned. I just checked. All right. No, I don't buy it. That's automatic lying. Getting caught in a lie is automatically gone. So just how it is. What would you say the reason? That is really complicated. Something about DNA replication. All right, here's the problem, Sam. All right. Thoughts on 30-degree versus 45-degree incline versus 60-degree incline for maximum upper chest development. 30 to 45 is going to be ideal. 60, you're going to start getting less and less upper chest development. So if your goal is maximum, it's going to be probably 30 to 45. Jason, do you think that sumo RDL is a dangerous exercise? Why would you do a sumo RDL? Francis says, my father has full hair at 65. Mine is receding at 25. What relevance does it have? Why does your dad's genetics relevant to this topic in any way? I mean, I very clearly articulated you need to pick your mom's genetics very carefully. I don't understand the relevance of your dad. Oh, okay, because I was talking about hair. Your balding does not come from your dad's side of the family, in case you weren't clear on that. It's from your mom's side. It's on your X chromosome. So that the gene you get comes from your mom's side of the family. Okay. So are 30-degree and 45-degree 100% interchangeable? There could be mild differences, Johnny. I mean, reasonably. I like the 45 because I like that slightly steeper angle, and I feel like it's a more legit incline. But a 30-degree is perfectly valid also. They're both good. All right. And I think that's a good rule to follow. If someone claims they've lifted some extraordinary amount of weight and I check their channel and they don't have the video footage, we know they're a liar. Because no one lifts crazy heavy weights and doesn't upload it. This is 2024. We all have a supercomputer with an HD camera in our pocket, and we're all on social media, and we can live off being social media whores as a species and as a society. So no one who's ever benched anything over 315 has not uploaded it somewhere. It's just not imaginable, unless they're just really, really old. They're like a boomer, and they're not aware that they have a camera on their phone. That's the only possible explanation. What split do you follow? I do power building on a 5-day body part split. So it's pretty much chest and triceps Monday, posterior chain Tuesday, shoulders Wednesday, back and biceps Thursday, and legs on Friday. But I do some heavy squat, bench, and deadlift and stuff, heavy exercise at the start, and then everything else is bodybuilding training. Most of it is 10 plus reps. Are you still a fan? For some people, I don't do that anymore. I do a 5-day body part split. I have some clients who do 4-day upper lowers. Right. Francis says, if I do only squats, can I develop the hamstrings? Not anywhere near maximally. You can get a small amount of hamstring development. You get a little bit. It won't be very good, and you're going to eventually have knees that hurt. due to being interior dominant with a weak hamstring. Future says this guy once told me he benched 345 and 140. He said, "You got to show me a video," and of course he couldn't. Of course he couldn't. When that's literally an elite bench. Like he could compete at Worlds with that. And there are guys at 140 who bench that, but they're elite powerlifters. Is lower chest a thing? People say dips work your lower chest. They don't work it more, but yes, lower chest is a thing. You can bias different parts of a muscle in training, right? How many sets a week per body part are you averaging nowadays? For me right now, 12 to 20 as of this week. What's a hamstring exercise you do besides a deadlift? Glute ham raises, reverse hyperextensions. You're asking me personally. Do you do reverse Nordics for quads? No. Nope. No, I do not. Dips buggered my shoulders. I know you're British now. Never doing them again. Luckily, I can still close your bench and overhead press seems to be okay. Yeah, there's a reason I'm not super big on dips anymore. I think they're good exercise. They're just not for everyone. You have to proceed with caution. Francis, how much coffee do you drink? I drink a whole pot every morning, the full pot. However many cups is in one pot. Standard Mr. Coffee size coffee maker. I currently train at a home gym, also commercial gym. How would you train hamstrings at home with just a barbell? I know you were talking about, man, well, you don't need any flexion unless you need maximum development. I mean, you could do Romanian deadlifts, you could do good mornings, right? You could probably rig up some bands and do some high rep leg curls with bands. I used to have Doug do that even in the vlogs. If you remember Doug's vlogs, because he was training at home, we did bands that way. Because he notoriously had hamstring pulls, right? He had a long history of hamstring pulls even before he hired me, and he pulled one on a warm-up set once and was out of commission for almost 2 weeks. So we just started doing high rep band curls for him, right, in between powerlifting meets. And when I say he pulled one on a warm-up, he pulled one doing 225 as a warm-up, ramping up into the 400s for a work set later. Do you advise on getting a good pump? My pumps seem to be. Do you still coach Emma and her husband? I currently do coach her husband, ex-husband. They're divorced. I'm talking to Emma. She's actually about to come back, and we may discuss the idea of vlogs because she actually wants to do vlogs. She talked about it possibly. So if she wants to do those, I might introduce just that as a client vlog for a bit. Because I've kind of cut the vlogs out, but I'm not going to go into why. So don't ask, please. Do you think that EXR strength levels are accurate for intermediate? I think they're reasonable, right? I think I'm familiar with that website. Jason, I can bench press 315 for 3 reps, but my strict overhead press only 185. Is this normal? Pretty common, yeah. Future says she has a good lean physique. Yeah, she did. She hasn't been lifting seriously for over a year, just a little bit of light stuff. She's been doing marathons, but she's kind of saying, hey, I feel like I need to get back into it. So can you help me, coach? We just talked a couple of days ago, actually. So she's most likely coming back. When running 3 times per week, 2 times 5 miles, 1 times 10 miles is doing the big lifts 1 time per week for 5 by 5 enough to progress, maintain, rebuild. If you're a novice, if you're not a novice, you really need more work than just 5 sets of a big barbell movement, honestly. Thanks, man. I will follow you for years. Always appreciate the no BS advice. You are welcome, brother. You are most welcome. Jason, in 2025, will you compete in powerlifting? I will not be announcing when I'm returning to powerlifting. Benji says, neck injury now has me sidelined from training upper body. Jason, I guess it's time for me to blow up these legs. Benji, hit me up, dude. I'll coach you. I'll get those legs. You see what my legs be looking like right now. You saw those screenshots today. What's up? Do you think deficit deadlifts can be useful if I have trouble pulling from the floor? And what do you think of a 2-inch versus a 4-inch? What do you mean you have trouble pulling from the floor? The deficits are going to be harder, right? I think deficit deadlifts are useful in general. Let's just step back the other thing. Let's cut out your other caveat. Do you think deficit deadlifts can be useful? I think deficit deadlifts are amazingly useful, period. What do you think of 2-inch versus 4? I think most people should stick closer to 2. You better really know what you're doing when you start going to a 4-inch or a 5-inch or more. What about Mikey? I've chat with Mikey every now and then. He's not really interested in coaching or getting crazy strong. He just sits doing the whole bodybuilding thing for a bit, and he's done fine on its own. I got Mikey to a pretty far level, and then he cut down. It's like I feel like he's at a point where he doesn't feel that he needs coaching, and I don't think that he necessarily does unless he comes over with some really serious goals from where he is. Right? Because I've had Mikey at a higher level previously than he really intends or wants to be at currently. So he doesn't necessarily need coaching, right? To regress a bit from where I had him, you don't need coaching to stay there. So at the moment, that's not really in the cards. Man, that's been a long time. I've coached so many other people since then. I think he could have gotten a 400 bench, not after the cut. No. Had he stayed up at 220, 230, we would have eventually got a 400 bench. I agree. Honestly, though, with his genetics, he probably could stay lean and maybe get there eventually, though, to be fair. He's got good bench genetics. It's just that large of a disparity in the body weight. But, I mean, realistically speaking, I could still probably get him there being under 200 pounds at this point. I mean, realistically, it would just take a long time, but we could get there. But I think he probably has the genetics for it. It's just that because he's leaner, it's going to be a longer range of motion. He's not going to have the extra padding and all that. Cameron Corsa, there was a guy I used to work with who told me, yeah, people always lifted these crazy weights in high school. He probably never lifted. Under 200 would be tough. But he's got the leverages. How much bone video do you have to allocate to coaching clients out of friendship? What do you mean? How much phone video time? Depends on the client, honestly. Clients who like the calls, an hour a month. Clients who don't really do calls. I mean, I have clients who we do 1 to 2 check-ins per year, and that's what they're happy with, right? Jason, did you ever consider doing arm wrestling? I have never once considered competing in arm wrestling. Never even crossed my mind. Coach, how much is sleep effective for those who feel refreshed after 7 hours? Should we go out of our way? If you're trying to maximize muscle growth, that extra, I would try to get it anyways, even if you feel refreshed. It wouldn't hurt. Just saying. Although if you feel refreshed and you feel recovered all the time, you're probably in a pretty good spot, to be fair. Right? You're in a good spot. So, do you recommend phases of lean bulking or just, you could do lean, absolutely. Eric, you could do some lean bulking, but it's not what people are calling bulking. No one's calling that bulking anymore, are they? I would just call it lean gains. And you can absolutely do that. I'm not telling people to never bulk or cut. I'm saying that we don't have to gain fat on the bulk and we don't have to lose muscle on the cut. And I'm saying that we do have the option of recomping. Does that make sense? But I want to be clear. If you are gaining fat on a bulk and you are not shredded, I think that you are doing yourself a disservice at this point. It's simply not necessary to maximize muscle growth. Okay? If you're 8% body fat, sure. But if you're 12% or 15%, you shouldn't need to gain a single pound of body fat during a bulk. You shouldn't have to. Doing 225 by 10 on a 30-degree incline bench at 180, I would say it's pretty advanced, yeah. I would actually say that's pretty strong, actually. I would say that's something to be proud of. What's the best way to cut without losing strength? Cut super slow, keep protein super high. I like the whole fasted training, fasted cardio. Jason, are you still accepting current events via DMs? Yes, I am. Mr. Quote, is a 10-minute ice bath plus workout long enough to get the benefits? The benefits are that you lose muscle is the only reason to do an ice bath, because there's no health benefits. It's been completely debunked. There's no real muscle recovery benefits. So the primary reason to do an ice bath is because you want to interfere with your lifting and gain less muscle. That's what the meta-analysis shows. I think 10 minutes is long enough to blunt the training response, yes. I think a 10-minute ice bath is enough to slow down your muscle growth, which would be the reason you're doing it, right? I mean, if you're going to be evidence-based and we're following what the research, basic biology, and meta-analysis says, there's no benefit other than blunting training response. So you're trying to not gain muscle from lifting, and you're trying to not get faster from your sprinting and other training, right? You're trying to blunt the training response to stop it from happening. Jason, opinion on eating raw meat. I think it's a bad idea. I don't know why anyone would do that. Jason, can you go more in depth on recomping? Yeah, I've got a lot of videos on. I talk about it a lot during my fasting streams. All right. No, it's not just eating at maintenance. There's a lot of trickery you can do to recomposition, like protein overfeeding, certain fasted training, and then hitting protein really hard after. Things like that can actually go a long way to shifting some of the nutrient partitioning favorably in the direction you want. Right? Lean bulking is just a maximum. Lean bulking can absolutely maximize muscle growth. That's what all the current research is showing. That's why I'm telling people you don't have to gain fat to gain muscle. Is that a new mic? It's just a different camera angle. No, I took the camera and I have it at the base of my screen instead of the top of my screen. All right. Coach rear delt is sore and not recovered after a week of deload. I can still, no. Just train. The fact that it's still sore, you just need to train it again, right? Because if you just said sore, you didn't say sharp pains of any type, in which you would see you need to see a doctor. It's just sore. So connective tissue side, nervous system side, get in and train it. It'll be fine. Because you use the word sore, and I will take you at your word as the definition of that term. Okay. About 48 minutes. I think it's about time to wind this down. I gave you guys a nice little chat during the cardio today on top of this. So we've had a fair amount of live time. I'm probably going to wind this down. So I hope it's been informative. I love all of you guys and gals. I'm going to give you guys a forearm shot before we go. And I'll talk to you next time.